Hey friends, so now I'm gonna show you exactly what is Apache Spark. So I'm gonna show you its architecture, the main components, and how Spark works behind the scenes. And at the end, I'm gonna show you the entire ecosystem of the Spark and my recommendation on how to learn it. And of course, this is a very technical topic. That's why, as usual, I will break it into very simple animated sketches. So now, let's get started.
The show's starting. The show's starting!
The main idea is very simple. Instead of using only one single machine to process big data, to do machine learning, analytics, engineering, we're gonna use multiple machines working together in the Spark environment. So it's gonna split our data between multiple machines and process our data in the memory in parallel. And then the result of each piece is gonna be collected and combined into final results. So actually that's it. This is Spark in very high level. Now we're gonna go to the lower to understand the detailed architecture of Spark. Now we start by writing Spark code, and mainly we have to write two blocks. The first one is we need to create Spark session. This is an initial step, and without it we cannot do anything. So once Spark sees this, it's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna turn the engine on and I'm ready. So the first thing that it's gonna do, it's gonna create something called driver. This is the brain of Spark. It will do all the thinking for your program, but it will not do the heavy job itself. So only thinking. And that's why we have the other type of node that gonna do the heavy work. We have the workers, the machines. Those are the muscles. Those are real machines with CPU, memory, disk, and we can run on those machines the executors. And the executor is a process that gonna use the machine resources to execute a task. So we have the brain, we have the muscles. Now the brain will not go and start like finding which worker is busy and which worker is free. That's why we have something called the cluster manager. It's like real life managers. They will not do the actual work. They will manage other workers. So they're gonna find which worker is available. They're gonna start the executor processes, allocate the CPU and memory, and monitor the entire health. So the brain gonna ask the manager to allocate the resources, and it knows best which worker gonna be involved in our task. So with this, we have the brain, the muscles, the managers, but actually until now nothing happens. We are just turning Spark on. And here we comes to the second block in our Spark code. We have the data logic. Like for example, you are reading a table, you are filtering the data, doing some group by, and at the end we have an action in order to show the data. So now there is something really important to understand about Spark. It is very lazy. So it will not go and panic from the first command and start like getting the data and processing it, doing aggregations, filters. Instead, Spark is lazy, calm, and start listening. So it's gonna say, okay, I see that you want to read the table. Now you want to filter, okay, and you want to group by country. Interesting stuff, right? So let me think about it. So it will not execute it immediately. The driver, the brain, it's gonna start building a full plan step by step. It keep reading your code until it sees an action, the show methods. And now Spark suddenly gonna say, oh, you actually want me to do all those stuff? Okay, it's time to work. Now the driver gonna go and optimize the plan. It gonna break everything into stages and steps. And here comes the main idea. Your data gonna be splitted into partitions, and each partition becomes one task. Now the driver gonna talk directly to the executors, to the workers, not through the cluster manager anymore. The manager only worked at the start and that's it. So the driver now coordinates the execution, and it's gonna say, you work with the partition 1, you work with the partition 2, you 3, and you handle that, and everyone start processing now. So each executor gonna read its partitions, it's gonna go and apply the filters, perform aggregations, and what could happen is a shuffle. So the driver might start moving actually data between the workers. If, for example, they belong to the same country, then it makes sense to process everything in one node. Of course, the executors, they don't do the thinking. It is the job of the driver. And now once all the nodes are done with the processing, now it is time to combine everything in one final answer. So the final answer gonna be sent back to the driver, and it's gonna print it in the output because of the method show. So actually, my friends, this is how Spark works behind the scenes. Again, to summarize, so the driver thinks and plans, the cluster manager provides the workers, the machines, the executors do the work, the partitions are actually the units of the parallel work, and the flow is very simple. You write a code with two blocks, create the session and the logic of your data. Spark Spark is lazy, so it's gonna listen and build the plan, and once it sees an action, it's gonna trigger the execution. So the driver gonna coordinate everything directly and speak to the executors, and the executors gonna process everything in parallel and return the result back to the driver. That's it. Now by looking to the Spark architecture, I can say the whole thing, the driver, workers, executors, the manager, we call the whole thing as a cluster. So a cluster is simply a group of machines that work together as one system. And now my friends, we come to something really important to understand. If you want to use Spark in projects, you have two ways. Either you're gonna go and use databricks in order to interact with Spark and do projects, and here the big advantage, you don't have manually to configure all this complexity. So you don't have to start drivers manually, you don't have to launch the executors yourself, don't talk directly to the cluster manager. The only one thing that you have to decide and to configure is actually how many workers do I need for my cluster. Everything else gonna be handled internally in Databricks. So if you use Databricks, you don't have to worry about all those details, you just focus on writing your code for your project and that's it. But of course it is nice to understand those concepts as you are using the platform. Now the other option that you have is to not use Databricks and you're gonna run Spark in more traditional environments, and here you have to master all those details because my friend, you have to configure everything on your own. The number of executors, the memory, the number of cores, the cluster manager type, the allocations, and all those details. So the level of details you need depends really on where you run Spark. But of course, the most important part is to understand how Spark works behind the scenes, and then you understand how to use Spark everywhere. Alright friends, so with this now you have a clear picture about how things works behind the scenes in Spark. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna zoom out a little bit because Spark is not only a distributed engine, it is a full ecosystem. So Spark looks like this. At the center we have something called Spark Core. It is the main part where it gonna handles the distributed execution, the memory management, task scheduling, and fault tolerance. So basically all those heavy infrastructure work that happens behind the scenes, and everything else gonna be built on top of the Spark Core. So the other things are actually like we have different libraries. Like for example, the very common and famous library, we have the Spark SQL. It provides us very simple tools that looks like SQL to query and manipulate your data. Another library, we have the Spark Streaming. This is gonna be especially important if you want to process real-time data, like for example, streaming from Kafka platform. Another library, we have the Spark ML Lib, if you are a data scientist and you want to build machine learning models. And another one, we have the GraphX, if you want to work with graph data like networking or relationships. And the last library, we have the Spark R, if you are an R user and you want to work with Spark. So now by looking to this, the Spark Core is the engine, and then you have those different libraries. They are like tools that allow us to do different type of work using Spark. Now another thing in the ecosystem, you can actually use different languages to interact with Spark. So we can use Python, R, SQL, Scala, Java. So my friends, you can pick the language that suits you to work with Spark, because at the end it doesn't matter which one you pick. Under the hood, everything eventually goes through the Spark Core. So now by looking to this, you can understand why Spark became so powerful, because this is not only like an engine or one tool, it is an entire platform. And now I totally understand if I might get you scared, because if you look to the ecosystem and you want to learn Spark, you might say, I'm gonna go and learn all those stuff. Well, my friends, don't worry, because you don't have to learn everything. I'm gonna give you now my recommendations on how to learn it and my honest opinion. Now, if you are a data analyst, then you just learn the theory about the Spark Core, just some basic understanding. And now about the libraries, you just need to learn the Spark SQL, and actually that's it, because it's gonna gives you enough tools that you need as a data analyst to work with your data. But now if you are a data engineer, then it really depends on the environments. If you're gonna use Spark in platforms like Databricks, then I'm gonna say the same things. You just need to learn the basic theory about the Spark Core. But if you want to build and manage Spark in the traditional way without Databricks, then you need more than that. You need deeper knowledge on the Spark Core, because you're gonna have to configure everything on your own. Now about the libraries, again, you have to master the Spark SQL, because you have to manipulate and transform the data. As well, you have to learn the Spark Streaming, learning, because in many modern projects you will be streaming data from platforms like Kafka, and this is your library in order to do that. So actually that's it. Now if you are a data scientist, then it is similar to the analyst. You need to have as well some basic understanding about the Spark core and about the libraries. You have to master as well the Spark SQL. And now about the Spark MLlib, here is my honest opinion, you don't really need to learn it, because currently in many modern machine learning projects we prefer to use external libraries like the scikit-learn, TensorFlow and PyTorch. So as a data scientist, you're gonna end up using Spark to just do data preparations and maybe feature engineering, but for model training you will be using something external. So now by looking to the whole big picture and to those libraries, you can understand quickly that actually the most important component is Spark SQL, because it gonna gives you many amazing tools that looks like SQL. And my friend, SQL is very easy to use. That's gonna help you to manipulate and work with your data. And about the programming language, this library gonna allows you to write only Python PySpark code, or as well to just write SQL queries like you do in any databases. And it doesn't matter which language you use, because everything gonna go through the Spark core to the Spark engine. So it's gonna be super fast. And this is exactly the reason why we're gonna deep dive into this library, the Spark SQL. So that's it, my friends. This is what Spark, the architecture, how it works behind the scenes.
That is exactly how it should work.
The whole ecosystem and how to learn it. And of course, if you want to learn Spark with me, I will deep dive now into the Spark SQL in order to learn all the commands and how to use it in real projects. And now, my friends, if you enjoy this type of free content where I'm sketching the complex concepts using those animated visuals, then support the channel by subscribing, liking and commenting. This is gonna help us to grow and as well reach nice people like you. So if you're still here, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.